is working a little bit better right now. So again, talked about super high winds. Storms formed way out in Nebraska. Had winds up to 95 miles per hour. Moved through the Lincoln area. Saw several tornadoes to the west and the north of the Lincoln area. We've also had high winds through Omaha. And this line is now rapidly at speeds. The individual cells are moving to the northeast at nearly 100 miles per hour. The line itself is moving to the east at speeds around 50 to 60 miles an hour. So it's not going to take long for this to get to Des Moines. That's why we're live. So we're watching this area. We're also watching the Kansas City area. This line is going to move through Des Moines and Kansas City at nearly the same time. And there has been a hailstorm just to the southwest of Kansas City, dropping up to softball size hail. We have some interest in that, okay? So big shout out to all of our sponsors. Again, we thank them for doing this for us so we can have this technology, this equipment to bring you the latest on the severe weather as it moves to the north and the east across Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas, and then also up in Minnesota too. We'll have Minneapolis coverage coming up here in a few hours, I'm sure, as the storms move in that direction. But let's take a look at what we have here. We're going to watch for several things. We're going to work our way from the top of the line down to the Kansas City metro. Then we're going to come back for the Des Moines area, as long as Des Moines is the first city to get impacted. Again, we'll watch for Kansas City as well, just in case that's the area that gets impacted. Now, we've got a focus here, so we've got tornado warning, tornado warning, tornado warning, and tornado warning, okay? Now, not a lot of population. We've got Fort Dodge right in here. Let's go ahead and hone in on the Fort Dodge area and take a look at exactly what it is that we have going on. And what's interesting about this is typically you don't get the tornadoes when you have this straight line that stretches from northwest to southeast. But notice how this line kind of curves in and curves in. And then you also have these little comma heads right here, okay? These are the areas that we have some high interest in what these storms are doing, okay? That's why we have the tornado warnings. But also what's happening is, even if the storms themselves are not producing tornadoes, what we're finding is that we're getting enhanced winds around these mesocyclones. So these areas have winds that are rotating around. So as it comes around, and then with the forward momentum of this storm moving to the east at 60 to the northeast at nearly 100 miles per hour, those winds are coming around and actually enhancing that, and that's where we're getting the strongest winds is with that. So again, Fort Dodge right in here, okay, this is a definite area of interest. Andrea, can we get the velocities on this so we can take a look? Here we go. So again, these are those mesocyclones that we're interested in. So like this brown area right in here, that area is where the highest wind, but potential tornado being right in here. We've got another one to the west of Fort Dodge right in here. Again, super high winds with that one. And then to the north of Mason, look right up here. Here's another one right in here. And so you can see we have these little couplets. And again, the enhanced wind speeds are occurring right in here. Now what's interesting is again, we have an area of fairly strong winds extending out right in this area. But more than likely, the winds mixing to the surface, the area that's going to have the strongest wind is going to be right here and right here, okay? Now this one will probably move off to the north of Fort Dodge, okay? So it's going to move in between Fort Dodge and Homebody. So right, just kind of boom, right up towards this 169 marker right in here. That's where that one will cross. This one will probably go just to the south of Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge itself, expect winds 60 to 70 miles per hour, possible, especially with these little couplets if they get close enough. So north side of Fort Dodge right up in here, and again, the south side of Fort Dodge, the west side of Fort Dodge, kind of this corridor right here on the west side and the central part of Fort Dodge, probably the lowest wind speeds, but still capable 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, okay? So some high winds. Let's go ahead and take a jog down the line here, and let's take a look at what's going on as we head a little bit further south. Again, we've got another tornado warning back here. Here's Des Moines. Here's Yankee. Ames is right up in here, okay? So this is where Iowa State University is at. And again, look at the tornado warnings back out here to the west. Now the radar data is a little bit messy out here, okay? So it's a little bit harder to understand, to see what's going on. But with this line projecting forward here, if we switch back to radar view here, this is kind of interesting down in here. So we'll have to watch all these little notches, these little couplets that come in. Some of these will actually be caused by these little showers that form out in advance. They'll create a pressure gradient difference, and they'll allow that wind to come in just a little bit more, give us a little bit more of an inflow notch. Seen some pretty significant wind and tornado events that have occurred just based off of these little showers that will cause some differences in the line and allow these things to really fire up, or even become an enhanced updraft on the front of this storm. And then as it moves into the area, we get really bad severe weather. So again, we're going to watch this and notice the proximity to Des Moines here. So as I back up, severe thunderstorm warning in Des Moines. Let's take a look at the warning for Des Moines. Talk about what the wind speed. I'm going to assume it's probably 70 to 80 miles an hour. There it is. Yep, 80 mile per hour. Dime size hail, mostly smaller, but you get these little pink spots. We could definitely have some big hail, but check it out. The whole city of Des Moines, all of Ames, everybody. Again, winds up to 80 miles per hour. That's what we're watching for with this line. Again, that's not everybody. So not everybody in this line will see 80 mile per hour winds. Let's go ahead and drop that off. And the dime size hail is going to be in these little pockets right here. You've got a little bit of pink right there, a little bit right in there. And you can see, we can tell there's definitely not big hail. If there were, right in here, we would drop the CC. So they would actually drop, this correlation coefficient would drop down, and that would show us that we have large hail. Now, because we don't see that, that's how we know we have some small hail. But small hail with 80 mile an hour winds, look out. So let's go ahead and flip it back to velocity here, and we'll take a look at exactly, I think this tornado warning, it looks like the storm has already moved out of the area. I think they'll probably go ahead and allow that to cancel here pretty quick. But you notice these little notches. Yeah, there's the radar trying to pick these up here. You can see here's the gust front right here, moving in on the west side of Des Moines. So we're going to watch this closely, and then it's where these little notches right here. See how this one kind of comes in? Enhanced winds right there, enhanced winds right there on the south side of that. So as that air comes around this, tries to buckle up to the north, everything comes around and spins up. This is the area where we think we could see some of the higher winds. So we're going to have to watch this area real close. Again, right in here, real close. Now, the radar is going to struggle right in here because of the wind direction. Okay, so as the wind comes directly, it's not able to get a good vision of the raindrops, how fast they're moving. So we're going to see this little course area, and you can see it actually happens, and then it happens right down the line. And then you can see it buckles around with the wind direction right here. So as the line comes through, we're able to pick up the high winds because the wind will come directly at the radar. But as the wind is crossing the radar, once it crosses perpendicularly, it can't tell. Here it's doing the same thing. You can see it kind of crosses kind of like this. So as the winds come up out of the northwest, it just can't pick up that wind speed. So that's why we see the lighter winds. Even though we don't have lighter winds, the radar is unable to pick that up. Let's go ahead and switch back to base reflectivity. Let's jump down to Kansas City here real quick and take a look at what's going on there, because we've had some pretty significant storms in the Kansas City metro area. Yeah, here we go. So this storm is now moving into the southwest side of Kansas City here. And, but it doesn't look quite as strong as it once did. Let's take a look at the marker here and see what kind of data the radar is saying we've got with this particular hailstorm. I know earlier, again, this storm right here produced softball size hail. How about that? That is some massive hail with that particular storm. But as you can tell, again, radar presentation came way down on it, moving off to the east at 20. But these are these isolated supercells that we've been watching down here, where it's not so linear, and so it's had that ability to create more lift, more rotation within the storm, which has given it that ability to produce that larger hail. But probability of hail, 100%. Severe hail is 0%. So again, hail sizes come way down, moving across Olathe and Spring Hill. But again, hail size way down. This will move over Lee's Summit as we head through the next probably in the next 30 minutes or so across the Lee Summit area. Let's take a look at the wind velocities on these. Again, wind potential is there with these particular storms, but I'm not seeing anything that sticks out like we did up north. So up north, again, we have those eddies on the front of the significant winds. But back here, again, there's a little spot in here. Maybe we can zoom into the Olathe area here. This is where we're picking up this little rotation marker as well. And so as we hone into this area, yeah, this would be the area of interest right in here, potentially a pocket of some 60 mile per hour winds right in there. Okay, so this is the zone, right? We have a little bit of, so we have the air coming in, coming around. And so right in here, again, it's going to move right over the top of Olathe. And I would say winds in the ballpark neighborhood of 60 to 65 miles per hour with that particular storm. What do they have it warned for? They might have higher winds than that, especially with the stronger winds just in the atmosphere in general. So 70, again, tennis ball size hail, that is from earlier. We're not going to see tennis ball size hail with this particular thunderstorm right now. Hail size has come way, way, way down on this particular thunderstorm. But if you go back to Emporia, Kansas, look out. There was some big hail that moved across the south side of Emporia. So let's go ahead and come back out here. Let's see what we got going on in Kansas City. Maybe about time to head back to the north and take a look at what's going on. Yeah, let's go ahead and head back to Des Moines with those storms. These storms in Kansas City don't look quite as strong to me right now. We'll take a look. You can see they did get rid of the tornado warning that we just talked about there. So no tornado warnings currently for the Des Moines area, but we're going to watch this as it moves across Des Moines. Okay, this line has had a potential. Look, we go back to the west, Atlantic, 2 tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes right back here. Okay, so this has had a history of producing tornadoes across the state of Iowa, and really all up and down this line. Right now, all the tornado warnings are off to the north, even to the north of the Fort Junction area. But right now, we're watching this line move into the west side of Des Moines. So if we kind of hone in just a little bit deeper here, we're going to take a look a little bit closer into this particular line so we can really try to pick up on some of the finer details of this particular storm. And again, we're going to watch for these little spots, these little kinks in the line here. Okay, let's go back to velocity mode here and take a look at what we see here. And again, you can see, again, like I said, right in here, this gray area, that's the radar saying the winds are light, but the winds are crossing in a way that the radar can't pick up the wind speed. So it's just the direction of the wind that causes that to fade off. But if you notice right here and then down to the south, again, I don't see anything that says, hey, we've got rotation, we're about to get a tornado. But what I do see right here is I do see that, again, there's some pretty strong winds in here. Maybe we can query some of these. I bet we're going to see some 70s in there. All right. Whoop, we got the severe thunderstorm warning in Kansas City there. So if we kind of take a look here, yeah, there we go. So we've got, again, 68, the negative 68, meaning that it's going away from the radar. So, or I guess in this case, it should be coming towards the radar. So depending on where we're clicking at here. So you can see, again, some 60 to 65 mile an hour winds, pretty consistent within this. I will say that some of these velocities have definitely come down over the last 20 to 30 minutes or so as this storm system moves into Des Moines. But again, it didn't take much in Lincoln. They ramped up quickly as they moved into town. Same thing with Omaha. So we're going to watch this very closely. Let's jump up and take a look at Fort Dodge because I know we had a lot of activity up in Fort Dodge area. That was definitely something worth keeping an eye on. In Fort Dodge right now under a tornado warning. So if you're in Fort Dodge and you're watching, you should be taking shelter for sure. Notice how that comma head that we talked about is right in there. If we switch to velocity mode, we're probably going to see, yep, some sort of couplet right in there. There's our couplet with the Fort Dodge area. And I don't know, can we back this up here? Yeah, let's take a look at the CCs. I don't see a tornado on the ground as long as that's matched up. So again, this would let us know if we had a tornado, but we do not. And the couplet looks fairly weak right now, so that's not surprising. Let's back this up and see what it looked like as it moved across. And it moved right where we thought it would. Came right just to the south and the west of Fort Dodge. We had this other couplet up here that moved off to the north. Again, that higher wind pocket we said would move towards the 169 sign. It went a little bit further north of that. But as you can tell, here's our couplet. Again, it looks a little weaker right now. So everything right now this area is interesting right in here. A little bit of a notch right in here. This would be interesting. This would also be interesting in here. So we've got a couple of different spots here as this curvature bends back to the west. Again, this is definitely the area. This is where the higher tornado threat was for today. With tornado watch in effect. So this is the area that we have to watch closely, okay? But right in here, and right in here, and right in here, okay? These are the 3 locations that we're most interested in when it comes to potential tornado activity. Tornado warning is in effect. They have not issued the new tornado warning going out yet, and these are about to move out. And like I said, they've come down in intensity. When we wound it back, if you looked right back in here, we had a pretty nice little couplet on there where we could see winds going. And look at that. See, look at the difference. You have you can see the green coming towards the radar, the red going away from the radar. And so we had a nice spin right in this area right here. We had another one right up in here, a nice spin right in that area. You can see green coming towards the radar, red going away from the radar. Those were the 2 areas that we noticed a big impact with rotation couplets, right? But as this has moved forward and crossed right up in here, notice how the couplet has weakened, okay? Continues to weaken. Now there is, again, some enhancement right in here that develops. And so, not saying there's a tornado right now, but again, there is an enhanced area, a little bit of rotation right just to the southwest of Blairsburg. This will probably head to the west of Blairsburg. In all actuality, these are moving to the northeast. Okay, here's I-35, so everything's coming up on the I-35 corridor. Look, this one still looks a lot better. Then I would say this one's fairly broad, kind of stretched out right now. I do like or dislike the way that this one looks with the rotation. Again, right here, just to the top of my hand, you can see it right there where you get the dark red and the browns that kind of mix in right there. And again, that's area of rotation. We're going to have to watch that closely. As we come down the line here, let's take a look at Ames. We haven't looked at Ames a whole lot yet today. See what we've got going on in there. And again, you can see some high winds potentially right up in here, Story City and Ames. So right in between there, potentially the strongest winds in the Ames area, just on the north side of town, right in here, and then in between Story City. I don't think we're going to see 93 mile per hour winds, but it is possible. We have seen 93 mile per hour winds today. Okay, so if that tells you anything, winds to 93 miles per hour are possible, but I would expect probably in the 70 to 80 mile per hour range right through here in between Story City and Ames. And then again, right in here, probably closer to 70 mile per hour winds right over the top of Ames or the north side of Ames, Iowa right now. So again, high winds, strongest winds right in this pocket right here. As we go back down the line towards the center of Des Moines, let's take a look at what we've got going on down there. And again, let's switch to, I want to get an idea of where the front of the line is. I think it's right in here. Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. So again, we can see the front edge, the leading edge, and then we have the storms right in here just to the west of Crocker, just to the west of Des Moines still. So everything is still to the west of Des Moines. Again, Des Moines, again, the tendency has been for these storms to come down just a little bit. What are some of these wind gusts back here just to the north of Adele? Let's take a look at what we had. So 60 to 70, so that's again estimated winds of up to 70 miles per hour. Take a look at a couple of those other ones there. 80, EM reports 80 mile per hour winds. So they were really getting it. Let's switch to velocity mode and let's take a look at what 75 was in that 70. Take a look at what this storm looked like when it came through this area. I guess it's Dallas County, it looks like. And notice it was definitely a little bit different. So if we switch it, notice how the blue bumps right up on the line, and then you can kind of see these pockets of some of these deeper blues. As it comes to the east, notice how they kind of fade out. Now what's interesting is that little button right there. We'll see if that thing continues to kind of hold together. It does. That's to move across the boundary where the radar struggles to see it. But right in here, this was the area. This could have some high wind right in here. This potentially could be some of the stronger winds. Also right here on top of the radar. If we zoomed in close, you'd be able to see a little ball right here. You wouldn't be able to see anything underneath it. So I would say Crocker, just to the north of Des Moines, right in here again, this is probably our highest wind gust are coming in the bright colors right here and right in here. That's where we're going to see the strongest winds right now as this line moves across the Des Moines, Iowa area, okay? So again, strong winds here, strong winds here, strong winds to the north in the Ames area. Let's go down here to the south. Let's look at Winterset, the town of Winterset, Indianola. And again, everything kind of now the further away from the radar we get, the higher in elevation our beam is. So we're going to see stronger winds just naturally because of that. So what we'll look for to see if those winds are mixing down to the surface, what we like to look for is do we see these little notches, these little couplets? A lot of times those are the areas where the wind really mixes out and we get some really strong winds. So not seeing that as much down this line here. Again, this is probably the front edge of that line right here. So this is just strong winds that we've been seeing all day long. That's what we're seeing here. The line of thunderstorms is coming through right here. And then you have, again, some strong winds, especially aloft behind the line of storms as it moves through. Let's go ahead and jump back down to Kansas City. Let's see what we've got going on down in the Kansas City metro.
So someone at Cottonwood Creek Farm said that there was tennis balls in Olay, so we may want to roll it back.
Let's go in there and take a look. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there was a NP report of ping pong balls, but I haven't seen anything other than that before the
And it's possible that the warning has been issued for tennis balls. And so typically what you'll see, and now look at, I mean, you can definitely see the storm looks a little bit healthier than it did back. Yeah, see right in there, it was kind of now right there. Now that definitely, that's a little different, right, than what we had now. So if we wind it back, and yeah, you can see the CC drop right in there. I would assume that that's probably the area that we're talking about. So you notice it kind of did a little hail dump, right? So it was there, it was dropping hail, at least quarter size, and then look, we get a little bit brighter pink core. Again, the inflow is coming right into here, so it's actually coming right into here. That's fueling the thunderstorm. And then as we move forward one more step, watch, there it drops its hail. If we put the CC cover on it, it'll show us that. Let's zoom in, so see if we can see some of the closer streets. I think, don't we have more streets that'll show up? Yeah. There we go. So you can see 151st Street, right down 151st Street. Here's Dennis Avenue. Here's the downtown center part of Olathe. So you have Dennis Avenue to the west of there, come down Old Highway 56, and then if you go west on 51st Street, either side of it, about a half a mile, pretty small area, but again, that's where the largest hail is falling. Kind of tries to stretch back. You might have a few quarters all the way down in here into Gardner. But this is the area where the largest hail, again, right down 51st Street, just to the north and west of I-35, this is the area where the strongest hail is for sure with this particular storm. Let's skip it forward one more frame. Let's see if how it carries over to Olathe here. And actually, we keep the CCs up here. Let's go up here, lift off to the north. Take it off of, can we move it? There we go. So you can still see some of the pinks here, and these color scales don't match up with the radars that we use to do some of the testing. So if we put the CCs back on, I think it's going to show that again that hail core does move into the Olathe area right in there. So again, right down Harold Street and up. I think this is K7. I think that's how they announce them in Kansas. So Harold Street, K7. What is this one right here? This is, let's see, 135th Avenue, so just to the north of 135th Avenue. That's going to be the area. And then as you can see, next frame, hailstorm is almost over. A little bit left up in here. This is probably some nickels, some quarters, right on College Boulevard, Lackman's, but again, storm weakening. So as we came from 151st and we moved across to the northeast, so you're going to have a path of hail that went just like this, you know, with the biggest being right back in here. And then as it moves across, it gets a little bit smaller as it moves across town. Now, where are we at live? Let's take a look and see, is this live right now? Okay, so if we go to 6, so here we go to 6:15. Let's zoom on in on that. And let's take a query of that with some CCs and see what we're producing here, because again, the color scale on this sometimes is a little deceiving on if the storm is producing hail or not. So not seeing a whole lot in there right now. So we would want to see the green, kind of like how it looks on the edge here. There's no precip falling there, so that's how we know there's not any hail. But kind of like what it looks like there, we would want to see what's falling in this part of the storm to show that green and blue. And we're just not seeing that right now. Let's zoom out. Let's see what other storms look like here. And again, so some fairly significant hail moved through the Olathe area, especially the southwest side of town, okay? So we do want to be clear on that. A fairly good hailstorm moved through that. I don't know if I would say it was tennis balls. It's really tough to tell from this type of radar. But golf balls, not out of the question for sure with that particular storm. And we're going to have to watch this because, see, we still have this storm is all by itself. As long as this storm is all by itself right here, we have the potential to get some big hail out of it. So we're going to have to watch this closely because, again, stays by itself. It has warm, it's not December. Well, it is December, but it doesn't feel like December. It has warm air being sucked into this thunderstorm, and as it pulls into there, it fuels it, and it gives it a really strong updraft. And as that updraft comes up and into this particular storm, it's been creating hail. And again, hail up to the size of softballs. We're going to have to hit this. When was the last time softball size hail fell in Kansas in the month of December? Because I don't know that it's ever happened. But we're going to have to take a look at it to find out for sure. But again, this storm has the warm inflow. It's all by itself. It's not connected to this storm to the north. And as long as it's like that, it's got the potential to produce large hail. It's got the potential to produce tornadoes. Now, we have a severe thunderstorm watch here, but just because we have a severe thunderstorm watch doesn't mean we can't get tornadoes. So it doesn't mean that we won't have high winds, right? We could have 70 to 80 mile per hour winds with this particular thunderstorm as well. What's our new warning with this storm? It'll be this bottom county down here. I just issued a new one in the top, but we want to see the bottom one. So it's for 2-inch hail. Again, that was a newly issued, right? So we had the one for tennis ball size hail back to the west. As the storm weakened, the National Weather Service noticed it. They lowered the hail size. I think they lowered the wind speed as well, down from 80 to 70 miles per hour.
Say that the hail size or the hail threat for that.
Okay, so they're saying it's confirmed that they have seen that. And again, 2-inch hail, we talked about it, golf balls, right? That's right in that ballpark area, 2-inch hail. Does not surprise me for the Olathe area. We saw that. Right now, I don't think this storm is producing 2-inch hail. But that doesn't mean that it won't, again, strengthen up. It's got this warm fuel out ahead of it, warm, moist air. Tons of moisture came streaming to the north. What's that?
It says in the details, it says hail threat observed.
How did it look in Olathe? How did it look in Olathe for you? Quarters? Okay. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, so John's saying again that he mapped quarters through Olathe. Again, it's hard to analyze this without the pixels that we need to really be able to dive into here. But again, here's the radar picking up a hail signature. We can click on that. It's probably going to tell us 0.75. We're also really close to the radar over here. The radar is in the Lee Summit area. Yeah, so maximum 0.4. I think I said 0.7. So again, not expecting huge hail currently with this particular storm. We're going to have to watch it, okay? Again, warm inflow. Let's see if there's any other storms back to the south or the west of Kansas City. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is that what everybody sees, or is that just us?
I don't want to reset it because I don't want to screw up and make it delay. I'm kind of running out of options.
How's it sound? How about now?
It's like crazy delay now.
Like talking kung fu. Still super delayed?
Yeah.
How about now? Super delayed? Fixed it? All right, cool, we fixed it.
No, it's like super delayed.
Oh, it's super delayed. Okay. Well, I don't know. So this is out of Kansas City, not producing hail. What do we have in Des Moines? Are we clear in Des Moines? I'm just trying to decide if we should just end it.
Chris is getting ready to come into the morning.
We're entering Des Moines. I can just end it and bring it back.
Is there high wind though in Des Moines?
Where the winds in, Chris?
65 just got observed a second ago.
It's 60 to 70.
Okay, we can come back live. We're gonna kick it back live here. We're gonna, for whatever reason, resetting this seems to fix it. So we're gonna shut this stream off. You'll hear this in just a second after my mouth moves, and then we'll start it back up again.